The SRA Designated Advantage. What do we believe that this program is going to achieve for our members?
First of all, it's visibility. We're going to work hard to get our members in front of end users of appraisal services and residential appraisal clients. That's ultimately the goal here, is to drive business, to promote appraisal services to users of appraisal services, and particularly highlight the work, the experience, and the credentials of SRA designated members.
Now you're focusing on the end user of our product to tell the end user it is important that you choose someone with this designation because you're going to get a better quality product, they have a better knowledge base, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a fair way of looking at it. Appraisers, they want to know, does this membership bring new business? Does it help my bottom line? And the Appraisal Institute is the best organization positively impacting the bottom line for appraisers, and particularly residential appraisers in that respect.
We appraisers really care about the letters that follow our names, and for residential appraisers like myself, the SRA designation is especially important. So I'm excited that the Appraisal Institute has plans to promote the skills of the SRA designees to key users of residential appraiser services, including mid to small-sized banks, credit unions, attorneys, and estate planners, and other government agencies. And that's just the start. Welcome, everybody. I'm Warren Boizot, SRA, and co-host of Face Value, a podcast from the Appraisal Institute.
Hi, everyone. And I'm Tonia Vilas. As an MAI, AI, GRS commercial appraiser, I don't have the same designations as Warren, but I'm happy to introduce our guest for today, Bill Garber. He works with the Appraisal Institute, and Bill will share more about the new program, which the Appraisal Institute is calling SRA Designated Advantage. Welcome, Bill.
Thanks for having me.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing for the Appraisal Institute. And I've been with the Institute since 2000, the year 2000, over 3 different stints, it's fair to say. And I've been familiar with the Appraisal Institute, the appraisal profession over that time. I've largely spent my career in advocacy and government relations and in the communication space, and am now working in the communications and marketing specifically. So I appreciate the invitation to come on your program today.
Thanks, Bill. Tell us a little bit about what is the SRA Designated Advantage?
So over the last 2 years, the Appraisal Institute has been focusing on residential appraisal issues within the organization and the profession. For the last 2 years, we've had in place a new committee called the Residential Appraisal Committee, which was spawned by the board of directors to focus the organization on residential appraisal matters, really focus and fine-tune our programming and address the needs of residential appraisers specifically. We had a residential appraisal committee many years ago, and it came, went, and it's now come back, and it's been regenerating new ideas for the organization.
Bill, is that the Residential Appraiser Project team? That's now the same group?
Well, that's a project team that was a precursor for the Residential Appraisal Committee. Yes. So the evolution of that within the organization, in this case, involved the formation of a project team to look at residential appraisal issues. Actually, if I recall, there were actually a couple of project teams that were devoted to that within the Appraisal Institute governance. And that ultimately spurred the development at the board level for a residential appraisal committee that was a standing committee of the organization and devoted to residential appraisal issues. So over about the past year, that committee has been functioning, looking at different issues facing residential appraisers in the community and throughout the real estate industry as well. And they've seen the opportunity that exists to promote appraisal services to end users of appraisal services, and particularly highlight the work, the experience, and the credentials of SRA designated members. So the committee has undertaken a great deal of research over the past year to flesh out different opportunities, different pathways, different personas, different user groups that are potential targets for promotion of SRA designated member services at a national and at a local level. So they've developed a series of recommendations to look at key areas, key target groups that you're probably familiar with. There's only so many target audience for the work of appraisers. Residential in particular has its subsets, and many of those, let's call them food groups, are on the menu for us to explore and to build out different programming around. So, well, obviously, one of the largest ones is in the mortgage lending sector. So there's a series of initiatives that they've suggested and recommended that we explore in terms of targeting mortgage lending, community officials, mortgage servicers, smaller institutions where they might be doing direct engagement of appraisers and the like. It's just one example of the type of thing that we're starting to explore. So, long story short, we're sort of using the recommendations from the Residential Appraisal Committee as kind of a guidepost for us in our work as we start to build out marketing for SRA designated members through this Advantage program and campaign.
Bill, I have a question about how the committees are structured. Are the members of the committee all volunteers who are members of the Appraisal Institute organization?
Yes, they are, Tonya. They are all volunteer members of the Appraisal Institute. There's a process to participate in Appraisal Institute's governance process. There are opportunities to volunteer through the Appraisal Institute's leadership registry resource. And all members have to do is complete a form and an application and fill out the areas of interest that they have and which committees that they'd like to serve on. And then that's ultimately reviewed by Appraisal Institute leadership. And depending on the issue, there are appointment processes and procedures that are conducted involving the members of the executive committee of the Appraisal Institute.
Well, I mentioned the residential appraiser project team because I happened to chair that for 3 years, a few years back. And the one distinction that I'm seeing that you're saying here, and years ago, it used to be like, hey, there was all these licensed appraisers out there that aren't affiliated with the Appraisal Institute that need to know that the SRA designation can help their career. It's kind of shifted now where we've realized that rather than focusing on going straight to the appraiser, now you're focusing on the end user of our product to tell the end user it is important that you choose someone with this designation because you're going to get a better quality product. They have a better knowledge base, that kind of thing.
So we have obviously an internal audience of state and stakeholder groups that we're constantly communicating with through our newsletters, magazines, our podcasts, multimedia, multi-channel approaches for communications with those stakeholder groups. An area where we have done and have engaged in the past is that external group, the client and user community, and other stakeholder organizations. The Institute has conducted various campaigns of outreach, promotion, and marketing to those various stakeholders at various times over the decades. The organization hasn't done that in quite a while. And I think, as I recall, some of those campaigns actually may have involved like dues assessments that were specifically funding some of those initiatives. Because obviously an ad in the Super Bowl, that gets quite expensive. And so we're taking these recommendations from our residential appraisal committee and we're applying that, very, very strategically, looking at these target audiences and looking at where they live and breathe and consume information and finding ways to promote the services that our SRA designated members are providing in the market every day. So, and this is just a concerted effort on our part to go beyond kind of our typical everyday communications that are largely internal in scope. We're going to project that externally and include that those large sets of clients and users of appraisal services in the residential appraisal community.
So, Bill, what are some of the benefits for residential appraisers to gain the SRA designation?
Well, this is one of them, obviously, the ability to get into an organization that promotes its members, that will market its member services to different user groups like this. Our Washington, D.C. office is constantly advocating and working on behalf of residential appraisers on different legislative and regulatory issues that are affecting appraisers, whether they be the matters involving appraisal management companies, the various reforms and changes that are taking place within the administration, within the agencies, within the government-sponsored enterprises, the hybrid appraisals and appraisal waivers, fee issues, appraisal management company fee disclosure, and issues that appraisers deal with every day. The advocacy team is giving voice to all of those concerns and is strategically working to advance the interests of appraisers throughout that process. Some other advantages and benefits of membership, obviously, networking is a big one within the organization. The Appraisal Institute is the best network of referral work for appraisal services at national and particularly at the chapter and local levels. You can attend chapter meetings of the Appraisal Institute and gather a whole range of contacts, build a network, a professional network, and receive referrals from those individuals that you're interacting with, whether they be peer-to-peer, residential to residential, or one that I always hear very frequently from residential appraisers is referrals from commercial appraisers and MAI appraisers who are unable or not in that space and doing residential appraisal work, and they've been contacted by a potential client to do residential work. And I think that happens a lot more frequently than we realize, that there's an excellent referral network between the commercial appraisers and residential appraisers through our chapter network in particular. That's kind of an intangible benefit, but it's one that I really think is important. They want to know, does this membership, does it bring new business? Does it help my bottom line? And the Appraisal Institute is the best organization positively impacting the bottom line for appraisers, and particularly residential appraisers in that respect.
If you want to start with a case study of one, here's a boots on the ground residential appraiser here that will tell you I probably do one a month in referral work from my fellow members that may be commercial or other residential appraisers that may not just cover an area geographically. That's a lot of it too. But I wanted to add to your list, Bill, of again, from a boots on the ground residential appraiser, what the SRA helps with is simply getting your foot in the door. In other words, there's certain lender lists and approved appraiser lists that a person can get on if they're licensed. Then when you boost up to certified, you can go up, get to another set of lender lists. There are certain lenders and certain clients out there that will require, in order for you to get on their lender list, because they may do more complex properties and things like that, to have the SRA. So I get to bid on work often that someone that may not have the designation is not able to get to. And that's huge.
Yeah. And I've heard the same thing, that as far as like a once a month type cadence from a referral standpoint. I've also heard it said that the membership pays for itself like within a month, because of they get enough referrals to pay for their membership in the Appraisal Institute. And as far as actual events and opportunities that exist for marketing services, different stakeholder targets, I think there definitely are some segments in the lending space that have been maybe neglected or maybe not built out in some respects. Think about credit unions is a good example of that. Credit unions have only recently got involved in real estate lending activities, but they have expanded. We're at a situation now where credit unions are actually taking over and purchasing some banks. They're getting so large that they're actually acquiring depository financial institutions. And the credit union footprint in residential lending is clearly grown. They are localized entities. They've got the one-to-one relationships with their customers. They're localized. They're in their communities. They're working in their communities, so to speak. And that's true in residential lending. And in many cases, they haven't taken on the vendor management platforms, or they haven't fully built out some of their vendor management platforms, or they haven't developed them or refined them to any extent to where, they're finding efficiencies for that. And that's where I think we can help them and steer them towards SRA designated member services to assist them in that very activity. Our members are uniquely positioned to develop different programs and platforms and service orientation that are going to be aligned with the business models of those institutions. So our members can almost act in a consulting capacity in that sense, and with some of these institutions that don't have the institutional capacity to deal with vendor management and the appraisal evaluation side. And that's just one example, like the credit union example. But there's a lot of smaller banks and financial institutions and private lenders and the like that are also in similar situation, in need of vendor management assistance, consulting, and engagement. And that doesn't even say anything about any of the other target populations that might exist, that could include attorneys and accountants, estate planners, government agencies, real estate professionals themselves, our peers and our friends in the real estate sales and brokerage community. They're all really strong business referral cases and users of appraisal services for our SRA designated members.
So now let's go back to the SRA Designated Advantage. What do we see? What do we believe that this program is going to achieve for our members?
First of all, it's visibility. We're gonna work hard to get our members in front of end users of appraisal services and residential appraisal clients. That's ultimately the goal here, is to drive business. That can be done in a variety of ways. Our Find an Appraiser function is probably one of the biggest assets of the association, and it's a great resource to identify highly qualified appraisers and SRA designated members, in particular profiles, whether it be geography or along business lines or property type specialization. It's multifaceted functionality within the Find an Appraiser function that we have an opportunity to highlight here and to drive attention and drive clicks to our Find an Appraiser feature. There's obviously other ways of trying to move the needle in this space, and direct referrals is definitely one of them. We would hope that our members would report increased visibility, increased awareness would result in increased revenue opportunities for them in these particular spaces. Trying to measure that could be part of the challenge for us going forward as we get down more localized and outside of our hands. Like, the ability to measure that can become more difficult. We can actually measure the click-through rates on Find an Appraiser. We can see whether that's been a positive trend or if it's stable and flat and the like. But obviously, in that case, we want to promote a higher trend rate on Find an Appraiser, a higher number of referrals. But in the end, our goal is to increase awareness and business for our SRA designated members. Ultimately, that's the goal, is we're going to be driving business to those SRAs within the organization.
Yeah, Bill, I love Find an Appraiser. If I get a call from someone and they say, "Hey, I got your name," however they got my name, and say, "I have a gas station in Paonia, Colorado," and I've never even heard of Paonia. I definitely don't do gas stations, and I'm very involved with my chapter, but I don't know everybody. I'll go onto that Find an Appraiser right there with them on the phone and look that up and give them a name of somebody maybe I don't even know, but I know that they're quality because they're a part of the Appraisal Institute. So I like to do it right there on the phone for them.
Yeah, that's key as far as, it's the gold standard. We all know what it takes to earn the SRA designation and to make those types of referrals, to have that ability to understand the skill sets, the work that went into earning that credential, and to have faith and reliability with it. That's the true beauty and benefit of that referral and exchange process, and the ability to promote the designation itself as a distinct product in the marketplace.
How do we get more of the residential appraisers across the country to engage with the Appraisal Institute, join as affiliate members, associate members, and then hopefully become designated members? How do we get them to come to our organization?
Well, I mean, it's a two-way street, in my opinion. I think the organization has to be open to bringing on new members and have an inviting and welcoming environment for them to come in as professionals, and to treat them with respect and to give them and offer them services. And ultimately, to me, what it comes down to is that bottom line. Does it make a difference to their bottom line?
Should we ask Warren straight up? Warren, does your SRA make you more money?
It does 100%. I can sit down with somebody and prove it. We won't talk numbers on here, but I can quantify. I can tell you for sure that it does.
Great. I hope our listeners are listening straight out of Warren's mouth to your ears.
I hear that too in talking with people. I hear, they appraisers in general, they want a couple of things in the market. They want that new business. They want, obviously, they're building businesses. They operate businesses. So they've got to worry about the bottom line. So they're building networks. They're doing client outreach. They're trying to do marketing activities. That's what we're attempting to assist with here, is to give them an extra boost and provide a helping hand in that outreach and marketing capacity, and support the hard work that they've put into earning the credentials and their engagement in the association as well, in promoting that work, and that's excellent, the mark of achievement that's involved in that, and their commitment to the industry as a profession and to the high quality of work that goes into defending an appraisal at that level. They're facing a lot of disruption in the marketplace from the technology side of the house, from the different stakeholder organizations who are looking, speed things up. Everybody's looking to hurry up on down the line and process mortgages and, get to closing, and all the other factors at play. And that's affecting the appraisal space from how they engage, how the end users are engaging with their vendors, which obviously affects the way appraisers are engaging with their clients. So all of that has kind of a trickle down effect, and appraisers are looking for a voice in that space. And there's no better organization at that, in my opinion, than the Appraisal Institute. Their teams, their federal and state government relations activities are working hard to defend appraisers in the federal and the state level, and they make strides on that.
Tonya, you know how I love to crowbar in Perea, but here at the Colorado chapter, we're super engaged with our 13 or 14 participants right now. And we're really stressing to them that, get your license, get certified, but then just continue on and get that SRA. So at least at our chapter, we're looking at Perea participants as a new group of people that we see as future SRAs, because the 13 or 14 that we have here in Colorado, super intelligent, super engaged in our chapter already, coming to social events and things like that. We want to make them feel welcomed so that they'll continue that path through licensure all the way to get their designation.
So, Warren, I think in addition to the 13, 14 people that are in your Perea program, there are probably hundreds of residential appraisers in Colorado that are not affiliated with the organization. And Bill keeps stressing the associate membership. That's something that when the Appraisal Institute introduced the candidacy program to try to help associates become designated members, we lost a lot of associate members who were not going on the path of designation. And right now, we should stress that there is a path for associate members again. We are welcoming to all appraisers, and even people who engage appraisers. There's also the affiliate membership, which promotes people who may not necessarily be appraisers but require appraisal services or other types of real estate professionals. And not to mention the student membership. It is the largest growing membership of the organization at the moment. I know it's still a small amount, but there are many universities. I know the University Relations Committee is going out trying to target additional colleges to promote appraisal institute education and to help, get people licensed, but even before they get designated.
I can tell you the numbers here in Colorado because I know them intimately well because we're involved as of the taping of this in trying to pass a bill here in Colorado right now. So I know these numbers. We have essentially 3,000 licensed appraisers in Colorado. Of that, 1,000 of them, 1/3 of them belong to some member organization, not necessarily the Appraisal Institute. That's around 400 or 500. Then keep in mind some of those are commercial. So you're talking about probably a very small percentage. So that 2,000 licensed appraisers out there in Colorado that aren't affiliated with any member organization, 2/3, 67% of appraisers in just our state have nothing to do with any member organization. I think that's huge. And it's obviously a pool to tap into for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of them are probably doing business with the Appraisal Institute, whether that be with education or publications, some capacity, or previous through time. It's likely that a high percentage of those individuals have done business with us, and here we have an opportunity to expand that relationship to include that associate member piece that Tonya talked about. That actually was a concerted and conscious effort by the board of directors recently to change some of that nomenclature that we've had to describe members of the Appraisal Institute. And we've moved in, and we're firmly planted in a very welcoming space with this new associate member category that's open to everybody.
And Bill, you said it was a determination of the board of directors. It was something that did go out to membership. There was several 45-day notices issued to our members to get their input on it to see how we should structure that language regarding the membership. So I think it's not just the board of directors who made that decision, but our members had a strong impact on changing the terminology of what an appraisal institute member is.
Good point. Absolutely.
Bill, how will this campaign differ from previous designation promotion campaigns?
Well, can we do a Super Bowl ad?
Well, next year,
Come on, it's not that expensive.
Tonya and I volunteer to cut our SAG fee in half to star in it. We'll do it for half the price that we normally charge, right, Tonya?
So half of zero is?
thank you for that. The different outlets that are available to us, the traditional outlets still exist. Obviously, we can look at different target ads in various media formats, whether that be in web-based opportunities. We need to look at associations themselves like the Appraisal Institute, but in our stakeholder community, the mortgage lenders, the attorneys, the estate planners, they all have associations too. And they all have publications, they all have websites. And so one of the things that we're looking at is looking at those industry conferences, the major industry conferences where there's going to be congregations of end users and clients of appraisers, and consider the geo-targeting of advertisements along those lines where those individuals are present and those end users and those clients are congregating and discussing appraisal issues, and to get our SRA designated member services in front of them while they're on site and on their phone. That's the tech side. The old fashioned way, one thing that we're looking at doing is kind of old boots on the ground engagement with our chapters. We've heard this since I've come on as communications and marketing team. We've done an outreach to our chapters, our stakeholders at the local level to help identify how can we help them get the word out and promote members locally. And I got a great idea, and I'm going to credit him, Director Carter in Florida, who's a member of the board of directors of the Appraisal Institute in Region 10, who suggested that we develop templates that our chapters can utilize and then take to various organizations, associations, or publications to to market member services at these target audiences. So he had an analogy of kind of the old Yellow Pages ads that might have run, where people might have come together, or there might have been like a congregation or collection of individuals who came together to buy an ad together with a local entity, whether it's a real estate group or a publication or an attorney's group, whatever it is. There was, efforts in the past to use the Yellow Pages. Well, that's true today, but in various other outlets like social media, LinkedIn, trade publications, and the like. And our chapters are in a great position to actually do some of that activity. They've got the members right there present locally, where you could match up the service provider with the local end user group, whether they be banking organizations or local banker organizations throughout the country. There are local real estate attorneys organizations throughout the country. There are estate groups throughout the country locally. All of them are offering advertising opportunities, again, where these individuals are consuming, where they're living, the end users are living. That's the area where we want to target. So we are going to be utilizing and offering some assistance to our chapters to conduct this kind of marketing outreach and promotional activity themselves, just by creating some templates that could be taken by the chapter very easily, very affordably, and then utilized and locally with those target audiences to take those templated ads and then to carry it forward at the local level through these local organizations and local publications. So again, kind of a unique thing that really the Appraisal Institute's in a good position to do, because we've got such a strong chapter network. We have 60 plus chapters that are in these largest markets throughout the country, and they have the ability to actually compile and leverage those assets in a targeted fashion at these strong client groups.
Yeah, and as you're talking, I'm thinking about my chapter. We have we have a joint meeting with the Appraisal Institute, Long Island chapter, and the brokers. So there's mortgage brokers that we meet with annually. There's also a real estate symposium at Stony Brook, which is a local university that we co-sponsor a symposium with them. And there's several other, the law. We meet with the attorneys, and we haven't done it recently, but prior to COVID, we would have annual like mock trials with them. And these events were great networking events. It was appraisers with clients, and we were able to engage, whether residential or commercial, because attorneys, the bankers, the brokers, they deal with both sides of the house over here. And it was just very productive. It brought a lot of people to the table. So now I have a question about the campaign. I know it's not something that we're going to do overnight and it's going to take time, but realistically, how long do you think it'll take to roll out this new technology, new advertising campaign that you're talking about?
Yeah, I love that question. I mean, we've got several different campaigns that are underway right now. Our marketing team is working in support of our membership already. We've been working on renewals for 2025 renewals. And then we're looking at an offer for new members as well, with some special offers. We're rolling out new courses. We're promoting out new courses. And then we've got other stakeholders too within the organization. We've got meetings that are coming up. We have a legislative day. It's our first ever legislative day. We're going to have members be charging the Hill on Capitol Hill and targeting members of Congress on appraisal policy issues and educating them about the importance of appraisal and high quality appraisal and the like. So we have events that are coming up, LDAC, Legislative Day. There's a variety of stakeholders to our marketing activities. So it's a lot to say. Like, this is one of several campaigns that we're working on this year, but it's one that we've already started to work on as far as development of templates and the like. That's something that our graphics team is already starting to engage on. And then we've already met with some groups about the geo targeting as well. We think we'll be looking at this in the second and third quarter of this year to start to see some actual real activity and some advertisements that we could point to and illustrate and show as examples.
Yeah, it all sounds amazing. I can't wait. And I think, Warren, I think we said we are going to legislative day, right?
We'll meet you there. And actually, I'm going to get my third year of LDAC in this year, too. I think 4 of us are going to come from Colorado. So we'll see you then.
Well, as you know, I reside in Washington, D.C. area, so I look forward to celebrating with you in person, seeing you in person, and maybe raising a glass or two.
Well, Bill, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And thank you to all of our listeners. Please find us on Spotify and YouTube. Tonia, if someone had a wonderful idea and maybe even had a guest to bring with that idea, where could they get a hold of us?
Yes, so we do read every single email that is sent to facevalue@appraisalinstitute.org. Warren and I personally read every email. You may think I'm joking, but they come directly to us. So please send us an email, give us an idea. Tell us if you're interested in talking to us and being on our podcast because we'd love to hear everything that everyone out there has to talk about the Appraisal Institute, appraisal related, real estate related, your dogs, your cats, anything else. But we are here for you, and we hope that you take advantage of this opportunity that the Appraisal Institute has offered us in hosting this podcast. So thank you, everyone.